we go to questions.
All right, fire away.
News just came out of the Ohio State exhibition, 7 o'clock next Friday. How did all that come together? What is the, kind of the genesis behind bringing this thing to life, and tell fans what they can expect next Friday?
Yeah, well, first off, Anthony Grant at Dayton, they did a game with Ohio State last year, a charity game to raise awareness for mental health. And there's some things that are personal to him of why he started that. I think anybody that looks into it, it's a touching deal. So, there were lots of rumors, proposals about rule changes to be able to do some exhibition games, Division I to Division I, right, before the season. And there was a lot of people posturing to prepare for that. That proposal got shot down, but as we were looking to find somebody to do a game like that with before the proposal was shot down, Jake Diebler and I at Ohio State had a number of conversations. Xavier and Dayton were already putting the game on. So before that proposal was shot down, there was an idea of let's get involved with this cause to get all 4 teams in the state involved under one roof would be a really neat thing. So it started based on that, and I give Jake a lot of credit. I think he was the guy that got everybody on a call together, all 4 coaches. So before they even shot the exhibition, there was an idea to try to bring all that together. Because the Dayton and Xavier game had already been set up, it was difficult to figure out how to do that all under one roof. When they shot down the D1 exhibitions, there was still an ability to do this under the charity rules. So it worked out for us, and this may be more information than everybody needs or wants, but we couldn't get all 4 programs under one roof. I do think there'll be a push to figure that out in the future, but Jake and I had agreed whether we could pull that off or not, that we would try to do something, and it made more sense just given some kind of facility dynamics to start that here. But look for it, to be able to continue in the future to support this cause. CareSource is sponsoring not just this game, but also the Dayton Xavier game. So it's nice that there's a title sponsor that is involved in this. So I think this is something that'll continue. I hope. I think the other coaches probably feel the same way. And then it's a great opportunity to get a game in front of our fans before the official season starts. So I think there's value in that. Usually it's been the closed door scrimmage thing, which you guys are all the secret stuff you're not allowed to talk about. But to be able to do that type of a thing and have fans there, I think there's a lot of benefit long term for that. Let me make it clear, you don't ever play a possession and don't want to win the possession, but we won't approach it like a real game. I mean, we're not going to substitute the way we'd substitute in a real game. We're not going to coach in this from a strategy standpoint the way we would in a real game, but we're going to try to be very competitive possession after possession. So in that sense, it's not a real game, but in the sense that we want to go out and play the best we can and learn from it, it is.
Some of us weren't privy to the tip-off dinner, but Roy Williams was here. You know a lot about him.
Well, you just didn't buy your tickets fast enough. Sold out quickly.
There's a story behind that, but yeah. Anyway, what did Coach Roy say about your guys? Because obviously he's a Hall of Famer, and what was it like to have him in?
Well, it's the second year that we've done it, and it's hopefully a tradition that we can kind of continue to build on here. But just having a night it's great to see our guys get dressed up. Everybody gets to see them in their uniforms, but to see them in suits and see them all snazzy, I think that's fun for me. It's fun for them. It's fun for others to see them in that light. It's a chance to celebrate them first and foremost, to get to know them in a sense outside of basketball. So I think the people that come to that event appreciate that. And then, we added having a guest speaker this year, and I was really, really fortunate to have my college coach and one of the guys that I think is the greatest to ever do it, to come spend time with us. That was obviously really, really special for me for a variety of reasons, right? On a personal level, it's touching. And then it's just really neat for my coach, there's somebody that I look up to as much as anybody in the world, to come see where I work, and, the passion for Cincinnati basketball, to see that firsthand and then get around our players. So I was glad everybody got a glimpse of, Coach Williams, and I think anybody in the room that night felt his energy, felt his competitiveness, his drive, and that's what I feel every time I get the opportunity to be around him.
Michael Jordan for guest speaker next year.
Michael Jordan for guest speaker. If you can get him to say yes, that'd be great. That'd be great.
UC Basketball posted a video. You were talking today about like the amount of buzz in the locker room. You guys bring back 6 of your 8 best players from last season. You did lose John Newman, who you talked about was such a special player. Who kind of lines up to step into that defensive stalwart role with this roster now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I actually stopped practice somewhere here in the first week and had to remind our team he's not coming back. I wish he could, because John was one of those guys that you could put him on any of the 5 guys on the other team, and the chances were he was going to shut them down and take them out. And he was willing to take on any defensive challenge, sacrifice his body, any physical challenge. I don't have a great answer for you, but we need somebody on this team to emerge there. There's certainly a handful of guys that are capable of it, and but we need somebody to, and hopefully it's not just one. Hopefully we get 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 that play defense the way that John did, and have the focus and competitive nature on that end the way that John did. So there's a number of guys that are very capable, but we got to emerge there.
Speaking of defensive cornerstones, you get Aziz Bandago, no waiver issues to deal with this year. What kind of just peace of mind and overall propelling and kind of extension or kind of a jump do you think it allowed him to take in his offseason, just knowing that he's going to be ready to roll for the full season?
Yeah, I think at this stage there's a real benefit. The nature of not knowing. I think that's got to be, as we talked about a lot here last year, that had to be very difficult. And then from a preparation standpoint, as a staff and as a team, not knowing kind of held back our ability to prepare for it. Obviously, this year, whether it's starting with the summer stuff all through the fall, and now he's such a big part of, the design of how we play on offense and defense. So we've been able to kind of dive right into that, and you hope that has some of the effects that it should have. Only if we go out and do the work, it's not going to happen just because.
From momentum at the end of last season by Jizzle James and a lot of hype around him this offseason, what have you seen from Jizzle as he gets back acclimated with the program for year 2 for him?
Yeah, I said this on a podcast earlier today with Dan Horde. I mean, this is my 14th year as a head coach. I don't think I've ever had a freshman that was as consistent and diligent with his work ethic on the court as Jizzle was last year as a freshman. So, people talked about, are you surprised how he finished the year? And the heck no, I wasn't surprised, because, I watched this guy come out, and now we've had guys work at it now, but as a freshman, I've never seen somebody that worked at it like he did day after day after day. When you work at it like that, you're going to find some results, and certainly he's talented enough to find some results. He's done that again here this summer, this fall. He started the same way he kind of did with the work ethic. He's got to sustain that, but he's a significantly improved player. In fact, I was laughing, kind of chuckling, watching film here at night a lot the last couple of weeks, thinking about where he was at this time last year and where he is now. It's just significantly different. But again, like anything, it's not going to just happen. We got to continue to come in and do it every day. I got a lot of confidence Jizzle's going to come in and work at it every day.
Rayvon Griffith is a guy that a lot of fans are probably interested in after sitting out last season. What type of progressions have you seen him make this offseason to get back into that rotation?
Guys, he led our team in rebounding this summer on offense and defense. And if you guys know me well, I like that stat. I like the rebounding stat on both sides. And so that was a really good sign. I'd say we got an edgy, competitive group. He's been as competitive and as physical and as edgy in between the lines as any player on our team from the start of summer till now. That bodes well for him finding his way onto the court. We know he has gifts, right? We wouldn't have brought him here if he didn't. But he's done a nice job of doing some of the little things, and specifically the way he's cutting, running the floor, rebounding on both ends. It's stood out to date, and I'm not diminishing the other things he can do on the floor that you guys already know about.
You bring back 6 guys, you bring in 3 transfers, 6 guys that played significant minutes last year, you bring in 3 transfers, a highly rated freshman, Ray, that's redshirting. Is it a challenge for the coaching staff or to figure out how exactly this puzzle fits together, because there are a bunch of guys that are capable of helping?
I don't know. I think after going through the summer and the fall and the preseason last year, where it was so much up in the air and there were so many new faces you hadn't coached, that was a much more significant challenge to date than anything we've dealt with now, because you have such a good feel for the returning players because you've coached them for a year. And then, I think the assimilation of the incoming guys has been more natural, and it's happened faster because they have examples of how they're supposed to do things and how we do things here, right? So I think like when you retain players, like retention is a compounding effect. It's not just that Dan Skillings is a better player as a junior than he was as a sophomore, and that's what we hope. It's also that he knows what we do and he knows how we do it. But that doesn't just affect Dan, it also affects the new guy in the program that gets to watch Dan. So they're not just trying to listen to the coaches say this is what we do and how we do it. They get an example in front of them. So I think that's helped in a lot of ways. There's always going to, if you've done a nice job of assembling a roster, there's always going to be challenges with playing time and challenges with combinations. Those are the kind of challenges you want as a coach. And if we can be fortunate, we've had the only really bad news I have today is Tyler McKinley, going down with a knee injury in our first practice. And guys, he had such a terrific summer, such a terrific fall. We thought a ton of him. He was exceeding our expectations. And I said that to everybody that is in my inner circle long before he got hurt. He was one of the guys, if you said, who surprised you? I thought he'd be good. He was better than that. I mean, so much so I was surprised. But he went down. He had knee surgery a week or so ago, and he's going to be out for the year. Like, that's a significant blow, and that really hurts the depth in our front court. And a guy that we thought was, going to be really good here, but was doing better than that or trending ahead of where we thought he'd be. So you can't have